Welcome to the world.
Dude, back off or I'll blow your fucking brains out! Let him go! Do this, man!
What's up, everyone? Thanks and welcome to Gamma Movie Recap. This time, I will tell you the storyline of a movie called The Locksmith. But before we start, please support our channel by subscribing and click the bell icon for future notifications. Now, let's start. At the beginning of the film, the scene shows a money changer called Cash House. There is a parked car in front of it. Seen in it, there is a man who is watching over the place. He's a cop named Zwick. He plans to rob the money changer, working with a locksmith named Miller and his partner named Kevin. Zwick promised to watch from the outside. They started breaking into the safe by damaging the wall of the building next door. The building is currently being renovated. After the safe was broken into, he took the money. But unfortunately, inside the safe, there is a motion alarm that has been activated. The police immediately knew that there had been a robbery at the money changer. Zwick also answered the radio from the police that he was close to the money changer. Zwick sprang into action. He pretended to shoot at his own car and also shot Kevin so that other police would not suspect his actions. Kevin died on the spot, and then Miller came out with a bag filled with money. Zwick immediately pointed his gun at Miller. Miller was shocked because Zwick had betrayed him.
Your friend had a gun. He shot twice at me.
10 years later, it appears Miller is out of prison. He was greeted by his friend named Frank. Frank then gave him a job, which is back to being a locksmith. Frank lent his car and told Miller to stay in his garage. Then Miller called Beth, his wife who worked as a police officer. Miller really wants to meet his son who he has not seen for a long time. At a restaurant, Beth appeared with her daughter named Lindsay. He looks big. Beth is still angry with Miller because after he entered prison he had to work hard to be able to provide for himself and his child. And Beth said she came there because of her son and she wanted Lindsay to get to know her father better. The scene switches to Frank's workshop. Frank returns to give advice to Miller so that Miller is patient. Because in the 10 years Miller has been in prison, everything has changed. Miller had to be patient and always do good because with all that, maybe one day Beth could take him back. The next morning, Frank comes to ask Miller to work on fixing locks at an inn. Miller then replaced the inn's key with the best digital lock. Then came the innkeeper. He asked Miller to repair the other room. It turns out that the innkeeper knows Miller. He knows Miller from a person named April. April worked for him. April tells Miller that he is the best locksmith. Then the scene switches to Frank's workshop. There it is seen that April has been waiting for Miller. It turns out that April is Kevin's younger sister. Miller says he regrets getting Kevin involved in the night of the robbery. Then April told me she was involved in a problem and she needed a lot of money. April wants Miller to rob her of money. Miller actually felt guilty and felt indebted to April because he had invited his brother to rob and then died. Miller wants to help April, but remembers he just got out of prison and he has promised not to do it again. In the garage, Miller said to Frank that he wanted to help April, but Frank said he could help him, but no more robbing. Do good, said Frank. Then Miller returned to work, but on the way, he was stopped by the police. It turns out that the two police officers are Zwick's subordinates. Zwick introduces two detectives named Perez and Jones. Zwick said he was retiring. Then he threatened Miller not to tell anyone that he was involved in the robbery. The two police officers again arrest Miller under the pretext that Miller is a prisoner on parole. For a while he can't be a locksmith anymore because his certificate has been revoked. The police brought evidence in the form of a set of lock openers. However, after arriving at the police station, his superiors refused to detain Miller again because they only had a lock-picking tool and had no evidence against Miller. Then the police released him. At the police station, a farewell party for retired Zwick is being held. Then he invited Beth to have a drink in his room. There, Zwick offered that Beth would become a lieutenant's deputy. With a little thought, Beth finally accepted. Elsewhere, Miller is honing his skills as a locksmith. Then, her cell phone rang and it turned out that Beth had called Miller to ask Miller to pick up Lindsay at the piano lesson. After that, Miller took Lindsay to play in the park. They look cool chatting while eating. There, Lindsay inquires about her father's job as a locksmith. Then Miller taught his daughter how to open a lock. After a day, Miller looked after Lindsay. Then in the evening, he drove Lindsay according to his promise near the police bar. Then Beth thanks Miller. Scene returns to the workshop. There, April was waiting for Miller. April tells her problem, that she is a call girl. She had already tried to run away from that place. Unfortunately, she was caught. The only way out is April must run away from there. For that, she needed a lot of money and asked Miller to rob his boss money, named Garrett's. Initially, Miller refused the invitation. However, because April kept pushing and because Miller felt be indebted, he finally agreed.
What's the job?
In the evening, Miller starts lurking outside. When the guards were off guard, Miller entered the house. Because he is a locksmith, he easily breaks into the door. Then Miller gestured to April for her to make a little diversion so he could enter her boss's office. But not with Zwick. He saw someone suspicious and he followed him. When Miller was opening the bag he stole, Zwick came and a fight broke out between them. Then Miller managed to escape from the place. However, Miller abandoned his opening set. Miller kept the money in his garage. Then he called April so that she immediately took the money. But April's cell phone was inactive, and this worried Miller. Then Miller goes to April's quarters. There he finds her house a mess and April isn't there. Scene switches to Beth's house. Scene there, Lindsay practicing breaking into handcuffs, something she learned from her father. Then a woman came to visit. Turns out she's April's friend. Her name is Tanya. Tanya tells Beth about her job and April that April is in trouble with her boss, Garrett. Then Tanya gave a flash disk containing Garrett and Zwick's secrets. Then Tanya said that she heard a commotion at April's residence, and then April disappeared. In the morning, he saw Miller coming to April's residence. Beth immediately saw the contents of the flash. Tanya asks Beth to help April. At the police station, Beth reports evidence of the crime and Garrett to Stern. Stern said he had to keep it a secret from the others. But Zwick's subordinates who saw the two of them started to feel suspicious. Scene switches to Miller, who returns to the Garrett residence. He told Garrett to let April go and would return the money. But suddenly Garrett punches Miller, and a fight ensues. There, Miller tortures Garrett and forces him to reveal April's whereabouts. At first he refused. However, because he couldn't stand it anymore, he said that it was Zwick who had brought April. Then Miller left from that place. It turns out that he is being watched by Zwick and April from the outside. Then Zwick breaks into Garrett's house. There, Zwick shoots Garrett for not needing him anymore. At Frank's workshop, Beth asks Miller to confess everything. Miller also said that he had to rob Garrett's money so that April would survive. Beth also said that she already had evidence of Garrett and Zwick's crimes and asked for the money from the robbery as evidence. Tonight, Beth will face Stern. Then he left Lindsay there. Scene shifts to the police station. There, Perez and Jones entered Stern's room led by the police because this afternoon he saw Beth bringing something suspicious into the room. Then, he called Zwick, who was still at the hotel, and told him everything. Zwick demands that they go to Frank's repair shop, then take the money and kill Miller. A few moments later, they arrived at Frank's workshop. Jones immediately shot and hit Miller in the leg. Frank also helped him and Frank managed to kill Jones. As it turned out, Perez came in from behind, then he shot Frank. Frank was also killed. Then Perez arrested Lindsay and demanded the money. Miller says the money was brought by Beth. Then Perez went to get Lindsay. Upon receiving news that there was a commotion at Frank's workshop, Beth returned there. Arriving at the repair shop, there he asked about Lindsay. After that, Zwick called and asked for the money. In exchange, he would let go of his son. He asked Miller to meet him at a concrete mixer. Then Perez arrived at the motel. Appeared there, Zwick and April were waiting for him. Then he handcuffed Lindsay. April felt uncomfortable because Zwick involved a small child in this matter. April then tells Beth that Zwick is holding her son and gives him his location. Then Beth and Miller divided the tasks. Miller goes to see Zwick and Beth rescues Lindsay at the motel. At the motel, Lindsay appears watching Perez. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Miller has met up with Zwick. Zwick kept asking Miller to throw his money away. However, Miller refuses until Lindsay is completely safe. Then Perez was out looking for April. Seeing an opportunity, Lindsay tried to remove the handcuffs. He tried out the skills his father had taught him. After several attempts, he managed to get rid of the handcuffs. Then he ran outside and Perez chased him. Luckily, Beth came and immediately shot Perez. Perez was also killed. Beth and Lindsay went to Miller's place. There, it appears Miller has been cornered. Zwick revealed that he had killed Garrett. When Zwick is about to shoot Miller, it turns out that April preceded him. Zwick was shot in the back. April knows that Kevin was killed by Zwick. Then April shot Zwick again in the head. After that, April plans to shoot Miller, as she is annoyed with him for involving her brother in the robbery that killed her brother. Then Beth came. She talks April out of it. April relented and let go of the gun. Scene switches to the police station. Due to Beth's success in this case, she has now become a lieutenant. At the end of the film, Lindsay is seen doing a piano recital. There, her parents seem to get along and the film ends. The end. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to watch other videos. See you in the next video.